Hey up, right, I intended doing today's video in with Wednesday's video. In fact, I started filming this part of that video together with the original content on Monday, but I soon realised that A, I was going to run out of time, and B, the video was going to overrun, so it really required a separate video, which is what I'm doing today. So some of this footage will be from Monday, the rest of it is filmed today separately. Now, as a lot of people sort of preempted and made comments in the comments section, this bike is fully loaded with almost all of the Royal Enfield additional extra cost accessories for the Himalayan 450. What I'm going to do today is go through those, and I'm going to use the configurator. I've taken some screen captures of the configurator to work out exactly how much this bike will cost with all these parts on it. Now, two things. First of all, these bags and the handguard I could not find on Royal Enfield's UK configurator. I searched high and low for it. Having said that, I've always found their configurator, yeah, it's nice, it's eye candy, it's very swish and modern, but it's also very glitchy. Normally I access it through my phone when I'm looking at stuff for videos. I find it very awkward to use. I tried it on my PC thinking it was the phone that was the problem, but it was just as glitchy. As I say, the handguards were not showing on their configurator. I'm presuming these are a cost option because they're not shown on the basic bike photographs on the configurator. These pouches I couldn't find at all, so these two are excluded from the from the price on this video. I've got no idea what the cost or what the availability is. The other thing is the rally pad on the middle stem of the handlebar. For some reason it refused to add it to the actual rolling total on the configurator. I tried it several times. It's like I said, the configurator I found very glitchy. The £29, personally, if they came with the bike, yeah, I'd be quite happy with it. But paying an extra £29 for that, I think personally I would leave it. I wouldn't be too fussed. So the pad is not included in this price. The handguards are not included in the price that I'm going to give you at the end. And these bags are not included in the price. Now, I've made some notes to go along with my screen capture. Now, before we continue, one thing I would just like to say, because people were asking me about the prices for the accessories, including fitting. The configurator doesn't give any prices for fitting, so I'm presuming fitting is free or it's included in the price of the parts that you select. Certainly at the end of the configuration it gives you a total price, and I presume if you continued it would give the option to pay for it. It might be that some fitting costs come up then. I didn't really want to spend that kind of money just to find out, so as far as I'm aware these prices include fitting. Now obviously, bearing in mind the problems that I encountered with this site, you're probably better off going into a dealership and ordering the bike and any accessories that you want at the dealership. That gives you the opportunity to negotiate on prices. I'm not saying you'll be successful, but it does give you the facility of being able to negotiate on prices, whether it be fitting or the price of accessories or whatever. You certainly don't have that option with the configurator. Right, let's get on. The other concern as well was I found that the configurator was adding things on that I definitely hadn't clicked on. It kept adding a bike cover onto it, which was pushing the cost up, understandably, and I had to keep taking it off. So be very careful with this configurator. I mean, it could be my internet connection, I don't know, although why I would have problems with my mobile phone, if it was my wireless system in the house. I don't know. I found it very difficult, so double check if you use the configurator that it's put on what you want on and that it's not put on what you don't want on. Now, the basic cost of the Comet White with tubeless rims is £6,250. So that's the standard bike with the rims, the tubeless rims that everybody seems to want, although in the comment section a lot of people now have started complaining that they don't want the tubeless rims. There is a choice. You can get other versions of the bike without the tubeless rims. It's up to you. Now, the screen, again, I've had one or two people comment that the standard screen that comes with the bike is just as good as the adventure screen. Obviously, I can't comment on that because this bike has just got the adventure screen fitted, which is an optional extra. It's £89. As I've said, you'll find out more about it in the main review. I'm quite impressed with it personally, so if they're both the same, then the standard screen must be pretty good as well. Now, moving to the obvious, the metal panniers. I'm going to cut now to a little segment that I filmed on Monday, and then it'll come back to me. These are pretty much what we're used to seeing, you know, Touratech style luggage. They are lockable, although I did find with the side cases, even when locked, they can easily be opened. I have a feeling these may be pre-production. The lock on the top back box, which easily fits a helmet, is a little bit more successful though. It does lock up securely. Paul has been keeping a helmet there whenever we've visited anywhere. Now, the way these fasten onto the bike, they don't lock as such. They're just held in places with threaded fasteners. It just clicks on, push it on. These lugs at the back here, you get in position and then you screw the fastener up there to hold it on securely. Obviously that's not a problem when you lock the cases up. Nobody can get away with your luggage because they've got to get into the case first to be able to unfasten it. On the BMW ones they had a key affair which worked with your ignition key, which were pretty good, but I would imagine these are going to be considerably less money than a BMW set of panniers. Now the BMW ones are made by Touratech, and to be quite honest, you know, some of the sealing and that inside used to be quite untidy. None of that on these. They've been really well finished inside and out. They're a bit smaller than the standard Touratech panniers, which I think would be probably about 3 or 4 inches wider than these, but you've still got plenty of carrying capacity. They've been really handy for us on our travels, especially in the weather that we've been travelling in, because these are 100% waterproof. In fact, this morning, because of the rain that had got into them while we were putting stuff in and taking stuff out in the rain, it's like a sandwich box. The moisture couldn't escape, so I've had to open them up for an hour this morning to get them thoroughly dried out, and that was purely water that had got in while they were open, by the way. It's not a matter of the leak or anything like that. These are 100% waterproof as far as I can tell. It's a simple claw clasp fastening, and as I say, I will demonstrate with these. They're not operated by the ignition lock, the separate keys, which is a bit of a pain, but then, you know, you're not paying BMW prices. That's in the locked position and you can still open it. What I've had a look at it, and what it is, the actual locking lug underneath isn't quite long enough to engage properly with the lock tab, so they're just overriding it as soon as you open it. As I say, I believe these are probably pre-production boxes that they put on the press bike, which, you know, they've just got that issue with the locking tabs not being quite long enough. On the top box though, no such problem. That locks quite securely, so one key. Once you've locked it, and obviously these should all be like that, you can't open it. Right, for a start, the rails for attaching the panniers are not standard with the bike. They cost an additional £119. One thing I did notice whilst going through this configurator is that Royal Enfield's prices are creeping up a little bit to what they used to be. I'm not saying the prices are unreasonable. I think, you know, compared with a lot of other manufacturers, that they're still fairly cheap, but they are creeping up. So in order to put your panniers on, you're going to have to spend £119 for the rack to accept them. Now the panniers themselves, for a set, they're available in black or silver. These silver ones are £530. I mean, just looking back to the last set of panniers that I bought for my JS Adventure, I'm sure they were over £1,000 just for the panniers without the rack, so it's not bad value. I think these are substantially smaller than the Touratech panniers that BMW use. Whether that really comes into the equation by much, I don't know, but at £530 I don't think the bad value, and as I've just said, I think they're better made than the Touratech panniers. The only difference being is the attachment system. Obviously with the Touratech ones you can lock them in place with an ignition key. With this it's an internal fastening system, which means people can't get your panniers off unless they've managed to overcome the lock on the box itself, and if they can overcome that, they can overcome a lock on the rack. So it's horses for courses, really. Next up is your top box. Now this cannot be fitted unless you've fitted the top box rack or top box mount. That's another £89 on top of the price of your top box, which is £348. Again, you know, I'm going back 10 years, but I think the Touratech top box, which I think was around about the same size, you were looking at about £500, £450, £500 then. So it's not a bad price, but as I say, the Royal Enfield accessory prices do seem to be creeping up a little bit. Now the lower guards, these are the large engine guards. They're £158. Now there are two choices for these on Royal Enfield's configurator. For around about an extra £101, you can get a different set that incorporates a nicer looking sump guard, in my opinion. It's a much more sturdy looking lower engine guard system. It's just over £100 more. In my opinion, it looks better, but yeah, these will do the job. And I'm only going to quote for these because these are the ones that are fitted on this bike. They are £158. The sort of beefed up system is, I think it was something like £260 or something like that. Have a look on the configurator. I'm going from memory on that one because I didn't write it down. Now the radiator guard, I didn't realise this is an optional extra. The original one is just a standard black, I think steel, although you know the pictures aren't that clear on the configurator, so I couldn't really tell. This is an optional extra which adds another £69 to the price of the bike. So what you're looking at here, one thing I should mention, they do some touring mirrors. These are the standard mirrors. To be quite honest, unless you've got a very weird anatomy, I mean, I've got a long body and I normally have problems with handlebar mirrors. I found these were great. I don't really see a need to switch unless, you know, it's whatever floats your boat really, unless you wanted touring mirrors. I've found that the standard ones to be pretty good. I've not got a problem with them. Now, adding all these things together, and I'm hoping that it didn't add something on that I missed, because as I say, it's so laggy and glitchy, is the configurator. I found it a bit of a pain to work with, to be honest. This will push the price up of the basic bike being £6,250 to £7,652. Now remember, that excludes the handguards and the front pouches, because I didn't, I was unable to locate them on the configurator. Maybe they're out of stock, or they're not readily available yet. I don't know. It also excludes the rally pad, which, to be quite honest, I think there are better things on the bike you can spend that kind of money on that I don't really see that they're really worth £30, to be quite honest. So yeah, total price of this bike, fully loaded, £7,652. Now, yeah, it's a lot of money for dressing up a 450cc bike. I've got to admit, I think if I wanted a fully spec'd adventure tourer, I would have to think twice about spending that kind of money on this particular bike. I mean, it's entirely down to the individual, really, what they what they consider necessary and worth spending the money on. I certainly think the panniers are worth the money, and the low crash bars are worth the money. The rad guard is really nice, it's really attractive, but yeah, I think maybe I would, if I was limited on budget, I would spend that money elsewhere. Now, the prices that I've given are correct as of today. Now, look at the date that this video was published, because this is one of the banes of my life. When I do give prices, 4 or 5 years later, people will start leaving comments and kicking off because the prices are wrong. Obviously, these prices are subject to change, and if you're looking at this video 2 years from now or 5 years from now, these prices more than likely will be out of date and the bike will cost considerably more. If it's available at that time and they've not bought a new version out, we don't know what's going to happen. So bear that in mind. Those prices are only applicable as of this point in time. There's no guarantees that those prices are not going to change. Please leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and consider subscribing to the channel if you're not already a subscriber. It does help me out and I do appreciate it. There are other ways of helping me out if you want to. I just see this as a way of leaving a tip if you consider that it's worthwhile. The super thanks button down below enables you to make a donation to the channel. There's also my Patreon page. Like I say, I just consider those to be a tipping facility where you can leave a tip if you want to, but there is no expectations of you if you don't want to. So, I hope you found that useful. Sorry for any confusion that I did cause in the last video. I've got to admit, this bike was just sort of thrown at me. I could see that there were some cost accessories fitted to it. I didn't appreciate just how extensive it was. It took a little bit of research to sort of pin down what was original and what was accessories. So I apologise if I caused any confusion to anybody in the last video. It wasn't intentional. I am, of course, going to be back next week. So until then, ride safely and I'll see you soon.